Good morning and welcome to UUSP Sunday service. My name is Jamie Gray and I am on the Worship Council and I will be your worship associate for today. We now live in certain times where fear of disease and violence in our street is very prevalent within our minds. The electronic age has made our lives very convenient, yet it has installed distrust depending on who you are and what you see. We have become a society that talks at each other, but not to each other. So how do we resolve this uncertainty? Perhaps we need to stop worrying about things that we can't control. And let's try to worry about the immediate needs of us, our friends, our families. Let's try and take care of each other with compassion. Let's make our circle wider just a little bit more and be more accepting of things.
To begin our service, we light our chalice as a symbol of our search for truth and meaning, our shared communion, and our light of caring. Join, if you will, in the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, Thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
Good morning. My name is Janae Johnson, and I'm your Religious Education and Communications Coordinator here at UU St. Pete. This morning, I am sharing our story for all ages. Now, the story that I'm sharing this morning is actually a tale from Japan, so I hope you all appreciate and hear the message in this story. Here we go. So there once lived a poor woman who faithfully visited the shrine of her guardian spirit each morning. She was so devoted that one day the guardian spirit left a gift for her in the shape of a green cap. She put the cap on and to her great surprise was able to understand what the birds, animals, plants, all of them were saying. "It's a listening cap," she cried happily. So just then, two robins had perched up right behind her and they started talking, and she listened. "It's so sad about the maple tree," said one. "How true," replied the other. "I heard it crying again last night. Do you know the story behind the tree's sadness?" "Yes," said the first robin. "I was there the day it happened." The town mayor chopped down the maple in order to make room for a tea house in its garden. Unfortunately, he didn't dig up the roots, and that's why the tree still cries out in pain. You see, it isn't dead, nor is it alive. It just remains under that tea house. Is that why the mayor is so sick and weakly? Asked the other bird. Yes, said the first. The maple had put a dark spell on him. On the day the tree finally dies, the mayor will too, and it will carry him to his grave. Upon hearing all this, the poor woman rushed home and made herself look like a wandering doctor. She asked to examine her husband and added that she already tried all the known remedies to help him. She got there and she asked, "So, when did your husband first get sick? Was it about a year ago?" she had said. "Why, yes. How did you know?" the wife said. "It's a special talent of mine." "Before I examine your husband," asked the doctor, "I would like to have a cup of tea in the garden." The phony doctor went into the tea house and sat quietly, soon as she heard a low moan come from beneath the floor. She looks down. "Is that you, maple tree? Poor, poor maple tree?" asked a butterfly floating down in the room. "Are you feeling any better today?" "No," said the tree. "I feel much worse. In fact, I'm going to die soon. And when I do, the mayor will too. I'll see to that." "No, please don't die," said the butterfly. "No, don't die," echoed the garden Ross. The doctor rushed to the mayor's bedside and said, "If you want to live, have the tea house torn down at once. Then tend to the maple whose roots still rest beneath it. Help the tree grow strong again." He agreed and told his servants to demolish the tea house. The sickly mayor cared for the maple himself. Soon it began to send healthy green shoots into the air. "I will live!" cried the tree at last. Within a few days, the mayor was feeling much better, and after only 2 weeks, he was well and strong again. The wandering doctor was given a large bag of gold, and with the listening cap still on her head, the once poor woman went on her way with a gentle smile upon her lips. So the reason why I chose the story today was to share that sometimes, even though, for instance, our nation was built upon so much pain, as an understatement, that sometimes we need to go back and dig up the roots and do what is right, because we are here. And just because we built upon this and have this astoundingly beautiful place, it doesn't mean that there's still meaning. There's still something beneath that roof. Beneath the foundation that needs to be taken care of. And so I hope with this 4th of July, as with all Independence Days, we just had a victory with Juneteenth being passed, that we take the time to get down to those roots. Thank you so much.
Bring peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building of ancient cities, raising up devastations from mold, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come build a land where the mantles of praises resound from spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come build the land, my people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream.
Good morning, and welcome to this Sunday's service at the UU St. Pete. My name is Aaliyah Cannon, and when I'm not involved in something at the UU, I'm also a Druid minister. One of the classes of Druids were the poets, record keepers, musicians, and the storytellers. And this morning, I'd like to share a story with you. This story is based on a letter a father is writing to his daughter, and it's based on true events. Now, in the letter, the father is telling his daughter about the very busy day he had, how he and his gentleman cohorts had been busy visiting different sailing vessels where they received friendly handshakes, lively music, and many 13-gun salutes. So many 13-gun salutes that the father might lose his hearing, he thought. And by the end of the day, he had drank so many alcoholic toasts that he didn't want to drink no more. He wanted to go for a walk through the city streets. And as he walked along the city streets, he realized that the darkness and the sullenness that he was so used to seeing had now been replaced by brightly lit houses, still welcoming guests long after hours. No longer were the shutters closed, they were wide open. People were celebrating. He was in awe at the celebration. He was amazed at how one document could change his society so much. You see, that father was John Adams, and he was writing to his daughter Abigail, and this was 1777, 1 year after the Declaration of Independence had been signed. See, this was the inaugural celebration of the 4th of July. Now, for over a decade, as we know, colonists had been faced with severe taxation that started with the Sugar Act of 1764 and kept increasing until the Intolerable Acts, 1774, which promised to punish any acts of patriotism. In 1765, the Sons of Liberty had come together to become what would be possibly the most famous example of the success of grassroots activism. Think about it. Grassroots activism, modern term, not a modern action. The Sons of Liberty were commoners, blacksmiths, carpenters. They were merchants and doctors. They were just like you and I. Grassroots activism should be a very familiar term to us as UUs because it talks about mobilizing people within their own communities to push for change in something that they are passionate about. Now, ever since our last president took office, the division between communities has been deeply affected. Since 2016, fatal police shootings have been on the increase, and especially within the Black population. What does this have to do with the 4th of July? Okay. Well, the Sons of Liberty started out much like the people protesting for Black Lives Matter. They didn't go right to property destruction. They started by protesting in their streets. They protested at politicians' houses, insisting that change become real and not just false promises. In St. Pete alone, protesting cries of defund the police have resulted in the police force adding social workers to respond to 411 calls in hopes to relieve an overly worked police force and help quench or quell some of the violence in our streets here at home. And that's just one example of grassroots activism in play. Another one, perhaps you're familiar with, in the FAST community. One of the things on their list of causes is accessible mental health services. That's why I'm wearing this shirt today. We just wrapped up June, and June was PTSD Awareness Month. And one of the causes that's important to me is ending veteran suicide after they've come back home from a war. Now, last weekend, we said farewell to our spiritual leader. It was a very moving moment, and Jack will be missed. His hand may no longer be on the rudder, but this sailing ship that we come to will still sail forward. But while Jack was here, he taught us the necessary skills we need to move on without him. He taught us to question everything, to not fear investigating the facts, both politically, democratically, and personally. I doubt seriously when the Sons of Liberty met for the first time beneath the Liberty Tree. They had no idea what would come for their future. But bravely they stepped forward, and courageously they accepted the possibility of change. Now, in Pastor Jack's absence, we must prepare for some change as well. Eventually, we will receive a new spiritual leader, and we must welcome them with open arms. We just changed our board of directors. We welcome them with open arms. And we are going to have other changes. Soon, our doors will be open again, and we will welcome many new people, hopefully people of great diversity. And we must hold space for those people of diversity in our congregation. There is no Independence Day until every person is free to attend a congregation that recognizes their inherent value. That's our first principle. Many of them will have faced oppression in different ways. So let's hold space that they won't face oppression here in any way that we can. I guess you can tell I'm outside. Planes are flying over. But every Sunday we remind ourselves, love is the spirit of this church. And if you believe love is the spirit can move mountains. Now, some of you may be familiar with discussions over adding an 8th principle. And many congregations have already added it around the United States. If you had not read it, it reads, "We covenant to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community that by our actions accountably will dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Now, that's a mouthful, and I'm not going to tell you how to interpret this. Now, our principles are our touchstones. They're very important to us. They're how other churches recognize the goals that we aim for within our community. We can't foresee our future right now, but I can assure you one thing. We can face it by working together, by building a beloved community together. So perhaps Independence Day, it's not really a final destination, but a mile marker. A time to look behind at how far we've come, and a time to look ahead where we have the potential to be going. And then perhaps, maybe we should celebrate the coming one step closer on the journey together. We can celebrate an independence of everyone, an independence of liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, I hope you'll join us later for our discussion and coffee hour on Zoom when the service is over. Thank you very much.
To keep our congregation thriving, let's remember our connection to one another and not forget our offerings to support those connections. As you listen to some beautiful music, to make a contribution, you can click on the I in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. You can also donate either via the Give Plus app or our website under the Giving tab, or by sending a check to the church office. Thank you.
And now for some announcements. Sorry, there aren't any. Surround yourself with love. Surround yourself with laughter. Surround yourself with compassion. Surround yourself with trust. Surround yourself with wisdom. Surround yourself with faith and spirituality. Thus, your circle will never be broken.
Now, as we close our service, with a breath, we pass the light of our chalice to each other as we say together, we extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of love, or the fire of courage. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world.